Hello folks, it's Dave with URAL Motorcycles, and today we're going to be replacing the friction style steering damper that was found on these older bikes with a new hydraulic steering stabilizer. I'm going to be doing that on this 2003. Now the new kit includes everything that you need to install this on one of the older bikes, all the way up to 2013, that had the cast steel triple trees. For those of you that have a 2014, 15, 16 in that range that came with this steering stabilizer stock when we went to the aluminum triple trees and the first generation of steering stabilizer, which is this one here, you can also order from your dealer. You can get the new bracket and the bitubo damper and actually retrofit your older first gen pneumatic or hydraulic steering stabilizer with the new bitubo style. Now the kit is available in the shop. If you go to IMZ-Ural.com, hit the shop button and it will take you to our shop. Go into accessories and you'll find it in the collections there. If you're interested in ordering the bitubo damper and the bracket specifically for bitubo that will mount to your existing kit, if you have the retrofit kit, or your 2014, 15, 16 bike with the first gen damper, you want to replace this with this, contact your local dealer or service center and they can get that ordered up for you. So to get started, we're going to roll the bike into place, and we're probably going to be messing with the sidecar electrical connectors. So I'm going to disconnect the battery here. Then the steering damper nut on top of the triple trees, I'm going to loosen that and remove the lower plate that makes up the original. Now I'm going to lubricate the pin here. This bike sits outside a lot. There's a lot of rust and grime, so I'm going to put a little penetrating oil on this to help loosen it up. While I'm waiting for that to soak in, the second bracket that bolts to the frame and also holds the horn on, I'm going to loosen that bolt and nut, remove that bracket from the frame, and then using the original hardware, I'm going to reinstall the horn where it was. Tighten all that back up. Now I'm going to take my channel locks and get around that pin there and move it back and forth side to side to break any rust or grime that has kind of frozen it in place. I'm just going to loosen it at this point. Then I'm going to take my tool here and with a ball peen hammer I'm going to punch the pin out, and then grip it again with my vice grips and pull it out the rest of the way. Be sure and cover the tool that you're using so it doesn't pop down and hit the fender and mar the paint. I'm going to clean up the surface on the bottom and install the new bracket. This threads right into the top nut that used to tighten the friction style damper. And once I got it pretty close to being tight, then you're going to install the bolt that locks it in place on the lower triple trees. all the stock hardware up top, the spring washer, those are going to stay in place. Get the supplied hardware on there with the flat washer and the nylock nut. Go ahead and tighten this up. And then I like to turn the top nut a little bit further and make sure it's securely in place, but also so the logo is facing correctly. Now you can disconnect your sidecar harness to get it out of the way. This one's really corroded. And then I just put the ends up around the brake hose, and so it's out of my work area. And then put a little penetrating oil on that too to break it loose easier. Once that has a few moments to soak in, go ahead and remove that bolt and nut. And then you're going to use that bolt and mount the bracket that goes to the sidecar strut there. Big hole, big bolt, little hole, that'll go to the damper itself. You're going to want to tighten this back up. Get it pretty secure, but you're going to want to make sure that it's nearly level to the ground. You may need to adjust this slightly during final installation. Now, unrelated to the damper install, I did have to clean the connectors here, so I used a little electrical contact cleaner. I'm just showing you folks what I had to do to install it on this bike. Now a little dielectric grease to hopefully prevent or slow that corrosion going forward. Reconnect your connector. Make sure all the wires are routed out of the way. Now you're going to take one of the other supplied screws, install one of the bushings, and then it's going to go through the bracket. And the bracket, the Allen head screw on the bracket is going to face down. You'll note there's a little depression in the bracket for the bushing to sit in. Then the rubber bushing, or the bushing with the rubber around it I should say, and then the nut. You can see how it's stacked here. And then the tightening screw on the bracket is facing down, like I said. And you're going to tighten this up, but not completely. You want it to move a little bit to help ease installation of the damper, which I'm doing now. Sliding it through from the sidecar side to the left side. And again, last screw provided in the kit goes into the end of the damper that has the depression. Then the bushing with the rubber grommet around it into the bottom of the bracket with another nylock nut on top. You can go ahead and secure this, tighten it up good and tight, Now you can go back and tighten the right side. And then you're going to want to adjust the damper body, slide it through the bracket. So you have about 8 millimeters before the end of the damper rod touches the body. You're going to go ahead and tighten up that bracket nut. You're going to want both ends to have about the same amount of space. You don't want them to come in contact with the damper body. That'll blow out seals and cause unnecessary wear. Then turn it forward, and then I turn it back 9 clicks, which is about halfway in the dampening. Make sure it feels good and it's doing what it's supposed to. Reconnect your battery, and then you can take it for a ride and adjust the dampening to suit your needs. Pretty simple install. I'm going to go out for a test ride now and dial in the dampening for what feels best on this bike.